This is the weekly Firecast, episode 4, interview with Neil Bigmista Strawder.
Strap yourselves in. It's time for the weekly Firecast. This is the podcast for all foodies, those who love food that is cooked over a fire or feels like fire in your mouth. If you love spice, smoke, sauce, and all things savory, this is the show for you. And now, here's your host, chili head and barbecuer, Scott Roberts.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone out there. This is the weekly Firecast. I welcome all chili heads and barbecue fanatics out there. Before we get rocking and rolling into this week's subject matter, I want to say that there is a new contact form put up on the twoguystalking.com webpage. So if you hop on over to twoguystalking.com/Firecast, go to the left-hand side, there's a contact form. If you have positive feedback, negative feedback, if you have suggestions for subject matter for the show, if you're interested in buying an ad, whatever you want to say, I want to hear from you. So again, go to the numeral 2guystalking.com/Firecast and fill out the form today. And real quickly, I wanted to mention, if you're a fan of the Showtime show Dexter, you'll not want to miss the Dexter podcast from Two Guys Talking. Host Mike Wilkerson and I will go episode by episode, tell you what we love about the episode, what we hate about it, discuss plot points, and more. So you can listen and download and subscribe via iTunes by going to twoguystalking.com/DexterPodcast.html. And be sure to follow us all season long.
And now, the review of the week.
My review subject this time is Backyard Grill's Gnarly Knuckle Buster Hickory Habanero Sauce. Now, Backyard Texas Sauce was a brand I had come across for the very first time at ZestFest 2010. And the names of their sauces were based on childhood afflictions and, pains and everything you'd receive back in childhood. What's funny is on the label of this Gnarly Knuckle Buster, it shows a kid. He's hit his bike on a rock, and of course he's flying forward. He's about to bang himself up. The whole product line is full of these little things like that. It always puts a smile on my face when sauce manufacturers are able to come up with some, theme or idea, because let's face it, there's way too many sound-alike names and ideas that they come up with nowadays. And it's hard in our genre. Anyway, back to the review of the sauce. This is one of the best and smoothest smoky sauces I've had in quite a while. It's smoky, but not overly smoky to where it tastes like you're chewing on an ashtray. Little tinge of a barbecue flavor, but no mistake about it, it is a good pepper sauce. I would say it has a medium-high heat. This goes great with any red meat, burgers, steaks, even some things like hot dog and smoked sausage. It's good to use this on. And to me, this has a really table sauce appeal to it. I mean, it's not something I would use every single day. With the aforementioned red meats, it wouldn't hurt to leave this out quite a bit. And I would imagine you would reach for this bottle a lot. Very good taste. Overall, very good taste. Not something I would use with, the morning eggs or with pizza or anything like that. This is a good meat sauce. So again, this is Gnarly Knuckle Buster Hickory Habanero Sauce from Backyard Sauces. You can find more about them at thebackyardgrill.com. And overall, I would give this a 4 out of 5. Good stuff. I recommend it.
And now, the Fire Talkers interview.
Neil Bigmista Strawder is one of the most well-known barbecuers online today. He owns a very successful barbecue and catering company in the Los Angeles area. And within the past couple years, he's appeared on TLC's Barbecue Pitmasters and CBS's The Ultimate Barbecue Showdown. And he is also one of the friendliest and one of my favorite personalities in the whole world of barbecue. So without further ado, here is Bigmista himself, Neil Strawder. Go ahead and tell everyone a little bit about who you are.
I'm Neil Strawder, also known as Bigmista, Bigmista's Barbecue. I'm out here in Long Beach, California. I'm running a little barbecue business. We sell at farmers markets and do some catering and do a little competition barbecue for every now and then.
When did you get bitten by the barbecue bug?
That had to be right around 2004. I was sitting on the couch with my then girlfriend, now my wife, and we were watching an episode of Good Eats, and I saw Alton Brown cook a pork butt in a flower pot. I said, if he can do that, I ought to be able to learn how to barbecue. So I went out and bought a little char griller and put it on the balcony of my apartment and decided I was going to learn how to barbecue. Yeah, I didn't do so well first time out. So I decided I needed to learn how to do this. So I did what all geeks like me tend to do. I went looking on the internet and I went searching around. I ran up on the website called Barbecue Brethren and started learning there. And the guys took me under their wing and taught me, and pretty much all the techniques that I know I've learned right from there, or just from trial and error. But the cooking stuff, I always cooked, but the barbecue techniques, that's where I learned them.
And I think that kind of describes a lot of us. I mean, whenever I started to grill and cook, I went to bbq.about.com. I, went to the forums, like you said, the Weber Virtual Bullet. I mean, I learned everything from there. And just, my first barbecue, the real first smoke was a disaster like yours. But, I quickly learned. Now, from that point, where did you kind of go? Did you get into competition barbecue shortly after that, or did you go into business for yourself with your catering business?
It was the competition first. I was learning and growing in my barbecue, doing all these different things, and I was reading about all these guys that were doing these barbecue competitions. I had never heard of them before, and then I happened to see one on some channel. I think it was the History Channel or something. They had something on. I saw some people barbecuing. I said, hey, they have that in California. I said, whoa, I need to find one of these. So I searched around and found a barbecue competition they were having down in San Diego. And we hopped in the car and drove down there, and I went to go meet some of the guys that I had been talking to online. They were down there competing, so I just went down to go hang out with them. I said, this is awesome. So I just decided I had to get into it. So I practiced for a while and decided I wanted to do one. They were having one right here in L.A. over at the Gene Autry Museum. Mm-hmm. And by this time, I was writing a blog called the Survival Gourmet. And, bloggers, they tend to go on other people's sites and they talk about the things that interest them, leave comments and stuff like that. And I had been talking to this blogger, Barbecue Junkie, and we talked barbecue all the time. And I said, maybe we ought to get together and go jump in this contest. I mean, we talk about everybody else's barbecue. Let's put our money where our mouth is. And he said, no. So I kind of challenged his manhood. I called him a cream puff and a marshmallow, and he finally gave in, but he said we had to get some help. So we contacted a couple other bloggers. One was Sylvie from, she writes a blog called Soul Fusion Kitchen, and another one, Professor Salt. That was his blog at the time. Now he actually writes for the LA Weekly. And we decided to get together and put this team together. So 2 weeks before the contest, we actually met in person for the first time and did a practice cook. And we decided that each one of us would concentrate on one meat. Mm-hmm. Barbecue Junkie, he did the chicken. Sylvie did the pork. Shu did the ribs. And I did the brisket. And we went out and we actually walked in our first contest. We got a fifth in ribs, our first contest. And from that point, we were hooked. And we were competing as 4Q.
And then the rest is history. I mean, I've heard that tale told so many times. It's like, oh, you better watch out the first time you win something.
Exactly.
Because you'll be hooked for life.
It's kind of like golf when the first time you hit a shot really flush and it just takes off, you don't even feel the club hit the ball. That one shot that you chase that shot for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like that.
Yeah, people have asked me, it's like, Scott, why don't you get into competition barbecue? It's like, I don't want to get hooked. I don't want to be gone 30 weekends a year. So I stay away from that. I just cook at home. From that point on, how long did you compete? And then at what point did you open your catering and vending business?
Well, I competed for the rest of that year. I think we did 3 or 4 contests that first year. And the second year, we did like 7 or 8. And my wife tapped me on the shoulder and she said, homeboy, these competitions are kind of expensive. You're going to need to sell some dinners or something to make some money to pay for your competition. You can't keep taking it out the joint account. So we decided that I would start selling some dinners at my jobs on Fridays. I would take orders during the week and tell everybody I was going to deliver on Friday. And I, deliver 40 dinners to my job on Friday, and she'd do another 40 at her job. And then we started doing it at other people's businesses, and it just kind of kept growing. And then I do a competition. We did these competitions, and we were doing, the People's Choice. We do a lot of People's Choice out here. Mm-hmm. My team, we won at the time. We had won probably about 5 in a row. I guess they call me the king of People's Choice out here because I think I'm up to 8 People's Choice champions now. People just would taste the food and they say, "Oh, do you cater? We'd love to have you cater a party." And at first I was like, no, but then we kind of started doing it. And then my wife came up with this bright idea. Maybe we ought to start selling at the farmer's market. Let's give one a try. And this was I think November of 2007. We started our first farmer's market over in Watts. And my wife said, if you like this and we do this, and you can replace your income at the bank, because I was working for Wells Fargo at the time. Mm-hmm. She said, if you can replace your income in a year, then we'll go ahead and you'll do this full time. You can quit your job, because I made money, but I didn't really care for working at the bank. So I would have been happy to get out. I ended up leaving in about 4 months. It just took off, and we ended up, now we're doing, 5 markets a week, plus all the catering and stuff like that. I'm so happy when Mondays roll around. Other people hate Mondays. I love Mondays because that's the only day I get to breathe.
That's good. That's good. Logistically, how do you handle being in all the farmers markets and catering at the same time? As far as manpower and equipment that you use, how do you accomplish all this?
Well, we have other people that work with us. My father-in-law is kind of my right-hand man. We call him Blondie. I have Vince that works with me. My wife has since quit her job, so she handles all the paperwork and stuff. I have another lady, Tracy, good friend of the family. She's working with us now on the weekends. She's like my drill sergeant when we go catering. Mm-hmm. She handles all the little things. So she says, so I can go be a diva. But she handles all the details. She's one of those people that, if I'm cutting some meat and I put my knife down and turn around, the meat's gone, the cutting board's clean, the knife is clean, and I can't find my gloves. I mean, she keeps everything spotless. She's all over it. So it's always a blessing to have her there when I'm doing a catering thing. So, and then we have 2 trailers. I have my big red trailer that the guys that Jay over at Spice Wine built for me, Spice Wine Ironworks. Then I have another trailer that has we either use a pellet cooker or I use my big Weber ranch kettle on that one. When we have smaller things like in backyards where I can't take the big trailer, I can roll one of the smaller cookers off in the people's backyard when they want me to cook on site. So we make it happen one way or another.
Now, when you actually cook your barbecue, how did you develop your style? I've heard a lot about, West Coast style barbecue. Do you think that you follow that, or do you kind of, follow a combination of a lot of other regional styles that are all throughout the United States?
What I've kind of settled on is it's kind of an offshoot of what we turn in for competition, because, that's what I know more than anything. I grew up in Texas, but I don't know, it's funny. I grew up right in Central. Well, I didn't grow up in Central Texas, but I went to college in Central Texas, San Marcos, which is about halfway between Austin and San Antonio. And I had, people on the football team with me who were from Lockhart and Luling and Round Rock and New Braunfels and all those places. And nobody ever took me for barbecue. I just wasn't into it. When I grew up, barbecue was ribs and hot links, from a little shack down the street. I didn't know anything about all these places in Texas being a hub for barbecue. We just went and got some barbecue when it was time to eat. So, I missed on all that. So I don't really have a big Texas influence or a Kansas City influence. I just, cook what we cook for competition. And then from there, I kind of backed off because what I do in competition is just too intense to serve on a daily basis. Competition barbecue is for, one bite, and it takes a lot of work to get that one bite just right. Mm-hmm. When people want a meal, they want to eat all of it. They're just not going to eat one bite. So some things I have to back off on. I have to adjust. I keep a lot of the techniques that I use, but the flavor profiles are different for competition than they are for, serving large crowds.
Next question I want to ask you is, how did you get involved with Barbecue Pitmasters? Can you tell us briefly about your experiences auditioning, and then once you were on the show, what that was like?
Sure. Barbecue Pitmasters, that is really a fun experience for the most part. I really enjoyed the crew, the people I would compete against. The only thing about Barbecue Pitmasters that I wasn't happy with was, well, the judging. So I think that was about the same from everybody except whoever it was that won. But I just saw it online. I saw the first season, and when they said they were going to do a second season, I turned it. And they said send in an audition video. I said sure, why not? I did one, and just kind of acted kind of goofy, and I guess they liked that. It's funny in my audition video, I showed no barbecue. It was just me in front of the camera being the goofy person that I am. I did a lot of different stuff, did some different characters and stuff like that. Just had fun. And I guess it just stood out because it was different. So they called me up and we went and did it. We shot it. It was here in California. So out of everybody that competed, I was the closest. So it was, maybe 45 minutes from my house. It was up in the hills over Malibu. And we went up there. We got the first day was just setting up. And you have to spend like 3 or 4 hours with the attorneys going over all the rules, make sure everybody understands everything and everything is fair.
Yeah.
And then the second day, we actually do the shooting. We actually shoot the contest. And then the third day, you do all the little inserts and stuff like that looks like you're doing it, the same day, like they're pulling you out to ask you these questions. That all happens the next day. But like I said, it was a lot of fun. Until the judging. I was a little upset. Well, I take that back. I was a lot upset with Art Smith and Warren Sapp. Myron, he told me some things, but at least he was, honest, and he gave constructive criticism. All Kevin
Robert.
Yeah. Only thing he did was say, "Oh, this doesn't have any flavor." I was like, dude, I just did alligator with a Cajun rub. I grilled it, and with all this Cajun seasoning on, you're going to tell me it has no flavor? Tell me it's too salty. Tell me it's too spicy. Tell me something, So I was a little hot at the end. Luckily, I didn't get filmed like like Kyle did. I didn't beat on my smoker, but I did walk off over in the woods, and they had a big stack of firewood, and I was over there throwing logs into the woods until I calmed down a little bit. But the next morning, I went up there early, and they still had the pantry set up. So I went in there, and I cooked breakfast for everybody. We had, all this meat and food left over. So, I did pulled pork and eggs and grits, and we just had all kinds of stuff. Somebody had some smoked salmons. We brought that out, and we just had a huge breakfast, and all the teams and the crew sat around, and we shot the breeze, and we had a good time until it was time to start shooting again. Everybody except the judges. So, like I said, it was a great experience. I would do it again in a heartbeat, just for the experience and for the exposure.
Did you know well beforehand about all the little things, unexpected things supposedly thrown in, the Sidewinder challenges and everything like that?
We knew that there would be a challenge. We had no idea what it was going to be. When we first got there, I already knew Diva. We talk online all the time. And I knew Sterling, the guys from Big Papa Smokers, because we compete against them out here. So we were all sitting around in the parking lot talking. And we were trying to decide who, we had no idea who the other person on the show was going to be. Nobody, because we weren't even supposed to know that we were supposed to be together, but we found out. Anyway, we had no idea who the other person was going to be. All of a sudden, here comes this big blue pickup truck with the Jambo behind it. Oh, Lord, it's Johnny Trigg. Almost to a person, we all just put our heads down and said, "Don't let it be ribs. Don't let it be ribs. Don't let it be ribs." And we go in there and they say, "Oh, you're going to be cooking ribs." And we're like, "Oh, hell."
What are the odds?
Yeah. Of all the things for us to cook. But we were kind of the guinea pigs for that whole game show setup. We were the ones who actually taped first. They didn't air our episode until 4th, but we were the ones who taped first, and they took like a week off and tweaked some things for the other episodes after they saw how it went with us. So that's why we didn't really have an elimination, because they hadn't thought of it yet.
Yeah. Now, did you watch Barbecue Pitmasters Season 1?
Yes, I did.
Just, I guess, from a spectator's perspective, do you think that the overall format was better in Season 1 than Season 2?
Yeah, I did. Well, I think they were two totally different shows. I think it's not to say that, because the second one was the game show. The first one was more of a documentary. Mm-hmm. Let's follow these guys on the road and see how they do. Where the second one was, it's a game show. We're going to pit these people against each other, and the winner wins whatever I forgot how much money it was, $100,000, $50,000, or whatever it was. It was a game show. So they were two totally different shows. I like the format in Season 3 better than Season 2. I think Season 1 was a totally different animal altogether. You shouldn't even group it together with the other two.
And I agree. Even though I did like Season 1 best overall, yeah, obviously they just followed certain people around. I don't know what the process was as far as contacting them and say, hey, we're shooting a show. Would you just be available for us to follow you 24/7? I guess going from Season 2, and then John Marcus, the executive producer, decided to put together another project, but it was a little bit different. And, of course, I'm talking about the one-off thing that appeared on CBS, the Ultimate Barbecue Showdown. How were you contacted about appearing on that?
Basically, they just gave me a call. They said, hey, we're going to do this thing in Houston. It's going to be the weekend of the Final Four. And we were putting these teams together, and we wanted to know if you could come down and do this thing with us. And I was tickled pink. I said, well, who am I going to be competing against? And they said, well, it's going to be Myron and Bubba from Bubba Q and Tuffy Stone. And I just thought to myself, I said, I would really like to know how I got put in that group. Not that I wasn't grateful as all get out, but I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in that meeting, because it just seemed like with those guys, it just said, we got Myron and Tuffy and Bubba. We need somebody black. And that's what it just seemed like to me. And like I said, I don't have a problem with that. I would just love to have been able to sit there and hear that, how they came to that decision. Because there are other people who won more than me. But, I talked to John about it a little bit, and his comment to me was, he said, it would be great if you go out here and beat all these guys. It would make great TV. He said, but more than anything else, I want you to be memorable. He said, we called you because you make great TV. When you were on the other show, you were entertaining. That's why we want you back. He said, first and foremost, this is a TV show. We're here to entertain, and you were entertaining. So that's why we called you. And he said, go out there and be memorable. And that's what I tried to do.
And that makes perfect sense. It's just, you are better or worse. I'll just say for better. You're one of the most entertaining personalities out there at barbecue today. Compliment to you, by the way.
Thank you for that.
As you actually went through that, and all of that was shot in one day, correct?
No, it was 2 days. It was kind of the same process. We actually got there a day early. So we were there a day, prepping and just talking and getting used to each other. I actually flew in early because we were shooting that weekend. I flew in on Tuesday because we're shooting in Houston. My mother lives right down in Galveston. So I flew in on Tuesday and went to go visit her. And I had already contacted a friend of mine, George Shore, over at Pitmaker. The guys who make the pits there in Houston. They were really pretty pits. And I called him. I said, hey, I'm coming down there to do this show. And I really don't want to drag all my stuff down there. Can you, if you can arrange for us to use one of your pits, you can come be my assistant on the show. Mm-hmm. And he's like, awesome. So I went down there early and we did a practice cook over at their shop over in Humble, Texas, which is just north of Houston. And we did a practice cook, tried some different stuff. And like I said, we just got together and we went in Thursday, I think it was, and started taking stuff in. Friday, we started shooting. and some of the other stuff. But the main part of the shooting was during the Final Four, and then all the part where you actually watch it and make all the comments and stuff like that. That was on that Sunday. So really a great experience. Not only hanging out with the competitors, but with the judges too. Being there with Mike Lake, who I actually took my judging class from Mike Lake, who's like the master judge. He's king of the hill when it comes to judging. The buck stops with him, and then Ray was there, Dr. Barbecue, and Chris. Chris and I actually did a little recipe video thing together. It's actually on the grillin.com site. It's always cool to hang out with them. And we all went out to dinner one night. John took us out to dinner at a Mexican restaurant, and we had a ball.
We're going to take a little break right now, but we'll return to the second half of this interview right after these messages.
Hey, Dexter Podcast fans. We've had a ton of feedback about our podcast efforts and wanted to invite you to the newest piece of the Two Guys Talking experience, Two Guys Talking TV. That's right. Now you can watch us live as we record all of our podcasts. It's all available live via the web right now. Get literally under the hood with Two Guys Talking as we edit down podcasts, punch out great custom website work, custom cartooning, and a ton more. It's never been easier to enjoy the creation process and to share and revel with all the cool behind-the-scenes fun with Two Guys Talking TV. Check it out now at twoguystalking.com/TV. We look forward to interacting with you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon via Two Guys Talking TV.
Fight Ribbon Clothing Company. Clothing and fight gear on a mission. Fight Ribbon is the original MMA clothing company built from the ground up for fighters and fans. Clothing with a purpose. The new face of cancer awareness. Fight Ribbon Clothing Company. Because what you wear matters. Visit fightribbon.com.
You're listening to a podcast appearing on the Two Guys Talking Podcast Network.
And we are back, and here's the second half of the interview. I want to kind of direct next few questions about barbecue itself. The very next question could be about anything in the industry, about the internet, about particular people, and you could be as opinionated as you want. What are some of your pet peeves out there?
Well, as far as my business goes, one of my biggest pet peeves are people who will walk up and they'll look at my sign, and they'll look at the menu, and they'll look at the sign, and they'll look at the menu, and they'll stand there for about 10 minutes. And then they'll look at me and say, "What do y'all serve?" And I just look them straight in the face and say, "Sushi." Like, how could you stand there and look at that sign that long and ask me what I serve, I get, all kind of crazy questions. Well, what style of barbecue do you cook? Are you Kansas City or Texas? And I asked them, I said, would you know the difference if I told you? And they said, well, no. I said, okay, well, I cook Bigmista barbecue. It's all American barbecue. I learned stuff from all over the country. As far as, what people are doing and cooking and stuff like that, one of the big things that people ask me about, well, do you cook your brisket fat cap up or fat cap down? And I tell them it doesn't make a difference. Personally, I cook mine fat cap up. And the only reason I do that is because in my particular cooker, the fat tends to get stuck to the grates. So I cook with the fat up. Mm-hmm. I said, I've cooked them side by side, fat cap up, fat cup down, and there's absolutely no difference. I said, well, what about all that fat on the top when it melts? It just drips all down through the meat and all that stuff. I said, here's what I want you to do. Go in your kitchen, get your cast iron skillet out, get it hot, grab a steak, throw your steak in there, and then take a pat of butter and put it on top of that steak. I said, now you tell me where that butter goes. I said, well, it just melts and slides off the side. I said, well, why would you think this fat wouldn't do the same thing? It does not moisturize your meat. the fat that's inside the meat is what's going to moisturize. When that collagen and stuff breaks down, that's what makes your meat moist. That fat cap sitting up on top, half of it doesn't melt. It's still sitting there. It gets soft. Some of it doesn't even get soft. That's the part I trim off, all that hard fat. Trim it off and get rid of it, because you're just wasting BTUs trying to cook something that you're not going to eat anyway. So trim it off. You should only have, maybe a 1/4 inch, if that much. So that's one of my big things.
Do you think anybody is peddling bad advice out there in any particular form or medium?
I don't think there's too much bad advice. The typical thing: don't boil your ribs. Spray your charcoals with some lighter fluid. Everybody should know by now that you shouldn't do that stuff. If there's anybody out there still saying you need to do that, they need to be drawn and quartered. I don't think there's bad advice. I think there's advice that people are given to make themselves sound smart when it really doesn't have any effect. Wood is another one of those examples. In my personal experience, people say, well, you need to use applewood, or you need to use hickory, or you need to use, mesquite, or whatever wood they choose. In my experience, I've never been able to cook a piece of meat with cherry wood and have it taste cherry. I've never cooked with apple and have it taste like apple. What I've found is that different woods give off a different intensity of smoke flavor, but one smoke doesn't taste different from the other. I think the compounds that are in the woods are the same. Mm-hmm. Some woods just have more of them than the others. Apple and cherry fruit woods tend to be lighter than hickory or mesquite. Well, mesquite is kind of a category all its own. It can be really bitter if you don't use that correctly. I don't use it because I've never been trained on how to use it properly, and I really just don't care to find out. But different woods are just more intense than others. A piece of wood smoked with hickory or oak will have more smoke flavor than something cooked with a fruit wood or a nut wood. So, people saying that they can tell the difference between cherry and apple. I'd love to see that happen. I'd love to sit down with somebody and have them cook 2 racks of ribs, one with cherry, one with apple, and have them pick it out. I don't think they could. I can't. Maybe somebody's palate is that sensitive where they can. I personally can't. I've never been able to find anybody who can. So that would be one of my pet peeves, I guess.
So what kind of wood do you smoke with?
Recently, I've been using the Mojo bricks.
Okay.
I used the Trader Joe charcoal as a base, as a heat base, and then I've been using the Mojo bricks, toss them in, and I've been using like the cubes along my charcoal trail. So as the charcoal burns long, one of them will light, and I'll have smoke for a while. Then by the time that one's done burning, the next one is starting to light. So I get smoke throughout the cook, and they've been working well. And they're still all wood. They're just compressed sawdust, and they're all single species. So that's what I've been using recently, and I like them.
When it comes to barbecue meats, if you could only eat one for the rest of your life, and only one, what would it be?
Oh, that is so tough. For me, it would be, I'd probably have to go with brisket.
Oh, interesting answer.
I just love brisket. I really do. Pulled pork would probably be a close second just because it's so versatile. I can do so many different things with it. But if I had to choose one, I'd choose the brisket.
Do you think it's because of your Texas roots?
No. When I growing up eating brisket, it was either I didn't even know it was brisket. It was just chopped up beef. Everybody served chopped beef in East Texas. Mm-hmm. So and then at home, my mother decided she was going to try to learn how to barbecue. It's funny. I still tease her. If she ever hears it, she's probably going to shoot me. But she used to make what we called shoe leather brisket and mashed potato salad. Neither one of them came out well, but we didn't know any better, so we thought it was great. So eventually she got much better at it, but those first attempts, trying to cook a brisket on the grill as opposed to in the smoker, it just didn't turn out well. So, but no, I don't think that's what. I think it's more because when we were starting out competing, brisket was the meat that I was selected to cook. So I concentrated more on that. And, I cooked, hundreds of briskets, and I've developed a technique and the seasonings and stuff like that, and that's just what I've spent the most time with. So I know if I can cook a bunch of other stuff, I know I'm not going to mess up a brisket.
Now, do you find one particular barbecue meat harder to cook than the others? And not just talking about time, I'm talking about getting everything just right.
If there is one thing that I never had to cook again, it would be chicken. Oh, I hate cooking chicken. I really do. The prep work is just nasty for it. Cleaning the fat from, it's not like the other meats where the fat is solid. And chicken, it's all messy and gooey and sticks all over everything. It's terrible to try to get off your cutting board when you're done. And, the window on it is small. If you leave chicken on just a little bit too long, it's dry. Mm-hmm. But you have to cook it to a certain point or else it's not safe to eat. And if you miss that window, you mess it up, So chicken, if I never had to cook another piece of chicken on the grill, I'd be happy.
And do you like to eat chicken, though?
It's not my first choice. If I go to a barbecue place, the last thing I'm going to order will be chicken.
Gotcha.
I'm going to order brisket. I don't want salsa. Give me my sauce on the side. I always ask for sauce on the side everywhere I go because I want to see if they actually, know how to cook the meat or if they're just covering up with sauce.
Exactly, yeah.
A lot of places do, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
I want pulled pork. Surprisingly, ribs are probably third on my list. And they would come behind brisket and pulled pork. And they would be even further down if I'm at a place where they actually smoke pastrami, too. So, love pastrami.
Yeah. Okay, you wrote a book called The Secret to Her Heart, the dating man's cookbook for him to get her. What's the story behind that?
I wrote this book before I really got into barbecue. I had it out, and we went back and retooled and did some editing on it because the original title of it was called the Secret Sex Recipe. But once you get married and you have a daughter, maybe I need to change this a little bit. Mm-hmm. So basically, the book is it's a dating guidebook. My premise has always been that it's kind of like with men, the way to a woman's heart is through her stomach. If you want to impress a woman on a first date, invite her over to your house and cook her dinner. And I believe that anybody can cook. If you can read, you can cook. Mm-hmm. That's my feeling. Now, you may not be able to create. That's a whole different thing. But if you can follow instructions, you can cook. And in this book, I made it as simple as humanly possible. I mean, I have pictures that say, this is a pot. Go and buy one of these. This is a spoon. Get one with holes and one without. Just everything that you could I made it as simple as possible. And then my son at the time, when I first wrote it, he was 11 years old. I made sure he could cook every recipe in there. Mm-hmm. So if he can cook it, a grown man ought to be able to cook it. And then there are a lot of dating tips inside there that are outside of just the cooking that I passed on, stuff that I had learned through my dating life because I was a slut. So
at least you're honest.
Yeah, I recognize who I was, but I was good at it. But I just wanted to pass on a lot of things that I learned that guys either don't know or tend to look over. Simple things like when a woman is coming over, clean your house. Vacuum the floor. Because I believe that people are different when they take your shoes off. So whenever folks go around, I say, hey, kick your shoes off and make yourself at home. Mm-hmm. But if you have corn chip crumbs all over the floor, that's going to kind of kill the mood.
Oh, definitely.
So, clean your house, change the sheets on your bed. And if you can't do that, at least spray them with some Febreze. Don't spray them with cologne because a woman's going to want to know why you have cologne in your bed. But if you just have it fresh smelling, your odds pick up. Just a lot of little tips like that. Let her
put the toilet seat down.
Exactly. Sure. Oh, clean your bathroom. Clean your bathroom. Nothing will run a woman away faster than a dirty bathroom. Clean your bathroom. And just little things. Get her involved while you're cooking. Have her come in and stir the sauce while you're chopping vegetables or or tell her go over there and, well, at the time I'd say go over there and pick a CD, but now everybody has MP3 players and iPods and stuff now. But let her go over there and tell her to go over there and look through your collection and pick some music that she'd like to hear. That way she gets to look through your stuff and kind of get an idea of what it is that you like. When she gets there, take her coat and her purse, but put it, on a couch or a chair right there by the front door, so she doesn't feel like you're trying to, trap her, because she's nervous. She's coming to your house on the first date. She's nervous when she's getting there because she doesn't know what she's getting into. She's probably got, her friends on speed dial and going to have somebody call just to check on her, So put her stuff right by the door, so if she feels like she needs to make an escape, she can just grab her stuff and go. No, don't make her think like you're trying to keep her there,
Yeah.
Do everything possible to make her comfortable, and, you have a good chance of the night going well. So lots of tips like that. And then some stories of my mishaps of how I learned these things are in there too. For
everyone listening to this is still available on Amazon, correct?
This is available on Amazon.com. This is called The Secret to Her Heart. You search by that, or just search my name. Just look for Neil Strawder, Neil Bigmista Strawder. I'll show up there on Amazon. You can get a copy of it.
Excellent. Where do you see yourself in 5 years or 10 years?
Wow. We've been trying to grow the business to the point where we can actually move into a brick and mortar type place. But, I really enjoy getting out also and meeting people and, being at the different markets, because each market is different and you have different customers at different sites. So, I get to see a lot of different people each week in different places. So I really enjoy that. I enjoy talking to the customers and meet with them as much as I enjoy cooking. So, a brick and mortar is going to be in the future at some point, but I don't think we're going to actually stop going out just to run the brick and mortar. I actually want to start doing some classes, barbecue 101 classes, just because I think we should just do everything we can to keep bringing people into the quote unquote sport, barbecue. Mm-hmm. The more people you get involved, the more it grows, and the longer we can keep doing what it is that we love to do. So, I just want to do my small, whatever part I can do to help people, get involved with it. I've noticed, here recently, there have been finally more and more people of different ethnic backgrounds getting into barbecue. And I think that's a good thing, because there are a lot of, I've been to a lot of competitions where I was the only person of color there, and I'm talking people coming to see it as well as people participating. So, it always concerned me that, one, there weren't a lot of black people there. And, it seems how that they're the ones who started cooking barbecue, and down in the South, they were the ones that did most of the cooking. I always wondered why they didn't get involved. I've gone around and I've asked them, I said, why won't you do this? And they said, I hear different things. They don't know how to taste my food, and when I try to explain to them, I said, if you're getting into competition barbecue, as much as you might want to put your stuff out there, whatever it is that you cook at home out there, you have to learn to put your ego to the side and cook what wins. You can you have a choice. You can cook what you want to cook, or you can cook what wins. And a lot of times, and it took me a long time to discover this, that a lot of times they are not the same thing. What I sell at the market wouldn't fly at a competition. And I know this because I've tried. Mm-hmm. And, fortunately for me, like I said, out here we do a lot of people's choice. So I can cook what I like to cook and serve that to the people who are coming up buying samples and things like that. And then because I'm good at feeding the masses. But finding that one little thing that the judges are going to like, that's those 6 people at that table are going to agree on, is a totally different thing. So, I had to learn to take my ego out of it. And I think that's one thing that a lot of new people have to do, especially if they're in some sort of barbecue business, or if they've done catering, if they've done catering, or if they own a restaurant, or, either they've just been cooking for all their friends, and their friends keep telling them, hey, you have great barbecue, you should do that Pitmaster thing. What judges are looking for and what your friends are looking for are most of the time are two different things. So you have to find out what works and do that as opposed to doing what you normally do.
Okay, well, thank you very much for joining me. Any last-minute things you want to mention or plug?
Well, I do have a line of barbecue rubs out there. My secret rubs that I use, daily at the markets. I have my perfect pork rub, my bitchin' beef rub, and another one that's called chicken scratch. They're out there. You can go to bigmista.com/store, and that'll get you there. And like I said, the book is on Amazon.com. I'm doing, I'm all over the internet. If anybody has any questions at all, feel free to send them to me. You can email me at bbq@bigmista.com, or leave a comment for me on Facebook or Twitter. I'm at Bigmista's BBQ. That's BIGMISTAS BBQ. Contact me. I'm always happy to talk to folks, answer questions, and check out some of my videos on YouTube also. I've been doing some videos where I answer a lot of different types of questions about barbecue. And if you send me a good question, I'll actually shoot a video on it.
Very cool. I urge everyone to do that. And, of course, I'll put up all these links in the show notes for everyone to click on. Make it easy for everybody. So, Neil, thank you very much. I appreciate you joining me.
Scott, it's been a pleasure.
I want to thank Neil again for that great interview. For more information on Bigmista's barbecue, just go to bigmista.com. That's spelled BIGMISTA.com. And as usual, I'll just put all the links in the show notes. You can find that both at scottrobertsweb.com/weeklyfirecast and twoguystalking.com/firecast. And I'd like to invite everyone out there in social media land to follow me, friend me. I'm on Twitter at twitter.com/scottroberts. You can like my Facebook page at facebook.com/scottrobertsweb. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just look for Scott Roberts Web. You can find me at LinkedIn, Pinterest, wherever it is out there. Just do a search for me, and you'll be sure to find me. I want to thank all of you for listening to these podcasts. I would be nothing without you guys. Remember, feel free to give input, feedback. I love to hear from everybody. Just go to twoguystalking.com/firecast. Look on the left-hand side, scroll down a little bit, and you'll see the contact form to get a hold of me. So until next time, remember, keep it burning.
This has been the Weekly Firecast. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast via iTunes or at the official website at scottrobertsweb.com/weeklyfirecast. The Weekly Firecast is part of the Two Guys Talking podcast network. For more information on other great Two Guys Talking programming, you can go to twoguystalking.com. That's the number 2, guystalking.com. Thanks for listening. And remember, keep it burning.
Gonna have some Bigmista barbecue. Yeah. I said everybody come along, cause the barbecue tastes so good. And it's jamming. We'll be eating. What you say? At Bigmista's barbecue. Bigmista's barbecue. Whoa, yeah. We'll be eating. What you say? What you say? Bigmista's barbecue. Yeah. Everybody come along, cause it tastes so good. Yeah. Baby, come on, get some Bigmista. Bigmista's barbecue. Everybody come along. Yeah, come on. Gonna have some Bigmista's barbecue. Yeah, yeah. I said everybody come along, cause the barbecue tastes so good. Yeah! I'm first, man. Give me some of that.